Missa inte årets julkonsert i Assyriska föreningen i Södertälje. Kom och lyssna live på Ivan Agasi. Orshina al-Shammas. Och Franco Elias.
ملك تقومون طري ومقارويات شرم بشمد مريات مليتم خدويات شام طخل نيرا ما طغل إقارات برناش خيرا.
Den 16 december klockan 17.00 i Assyriska föreningens stora festlokal. Pris endast 200 kronor inkluderat frukt och dessertbuffé. Missa inte årets julkonsert.
Terrasaur, marvelous ideas. Exclusive marble at lowest prices in Europe. Flooring, kitchen counters and bathrooms. Strong capabilities in cut-to-size marble floors starting at €39 per square meter. Deliveries throughout Europe. Get your quotation within 24 hours on the Terrasaur Marble website or on the phone number on the screen.
Our next guest joining us today, Ashur Sargon Eskrya from Assyrian Aid Society. Shalom Shlama, welcome.
دوزوثا لن هزرة كل خامندي بأختمرخ بكثيوة خامندي يا بسيتي خاكما نقزة خاكما يعني بوينت المتنا ومشارخ لبي أهول دي لقومة هدية جو أثرة بريشايت جو دنا يوماني جو دنا دناثة دوزوث اخنا ماسخ مشارخ بخ امرخ دشت نينوي اهولته دشت نينوي سب الى نينوى بلين الى دوك ثديله بش قدشتا غورتا بياشا قديا جو اثرد او هذا رابا بشامخ امرخ انه دشت نينوى هديه الى بوليثا قا امرخ قا تري جيبانه خا مني هلبت لازم يضخ كلن قد دشت نينوى الى أخ administration أخ إدارة إلى صيرته بشلطانة بغداد officially يعني رشمائيد وإلى خسامة من خا بروفنس غورتا جو عراق خا شمدية نينوي يعني شمدية رشماية جو شلطانة عراق إلى نينوي من بارت تريلب وطلع هالبت أخذ كل ذي الأخبار مديلة خرورة أن بنياثة عراق كلها من شلطانة قمايا وإثبال خارجيم خاثة عراق ويا لرابا قفرة شوبان بريش مناي ومذيتد موصل خواشة إلى كابيتال داي بروفنس نينوي وهرهادخ إلى خواشة مذيتد نينوي التقطة بتشعيته من دا يوم إثوا ردوبيا ويا لا البنونة عمان وهم شيء ثوج غشية تامة من هذا إثوا بلطة من جيباي الشوبان بريشة دوزوثا دشت نينوي يعني بياشالا اديو يوما بولاثا خكمة شوبان بياشالا كنترول ويا ببشمرقة بشلطانة تمرخ ل KRG يعني كردستان ريجنال جوفرمنت وخسامة خينا بياشالا ويا بادمنستريشن صيرة بشلطانة بغداد. Nineveh plain, it's a part in administration. It's part connected to Nineveh province. It is which is second biggest province in Iraq. And the capital for Nineveh province, it's named Mosul, Mosul city, one of the biggest cities in Iraq, second biggest city in Iraq. Population of Nineveh province was around 4 million people. After 2003, there was a lot of conflict in Nineveh province altogether because of the situation. Sunnis didn't accept what's happening inside the country, and that make the region or our people being attacked directly because we are Assyrian, because we are Christian. We've been targeted, and many people being forced to leave the city of Mosul and other places to Nineveh Plain. Unfortunately, current situation in Nineveh Plain, it's divided because KRG occupied, Peshmerga control some part of Nineveh Plains, which include Al-Qosh, Teleskov, and those regions. And other places are now controlled by Iraqi's government. But again, we have, for the security, we have other forces sharing the power on the region, which some of those powers, some of those security forces are not from the regions, not from the local community. And Peshmerga, it's example. We have Al-Hashd al-Sha'bi, some militias connected to Iran's or supported by Iran. They have influence in Nineveh Plain. That is a reason that makes some of our people didn't have ability to return back to their lands, to their cities and towns. So we have different cases depending on the place. If we move forward to speak about in details what's happening now on Nineveh Plain, we will see that in Nineveh Plain, in south side, in Baghdada, Bartilla, and Karamles, Baghdada and Karamles, there's good percent of people who return back. Why? Because there's a force from the local communities named Nineveh Plain Protection Unit. It's from the local community. So it gives more trust to people, so there's more people return back. There's about 50% or 55% of people who were live in Baghdada and Karamles, they return back. In the other side, we will see in Tel Kef, another bad example. There's militias connected to a person named Rayan Kildani, Babylon Brigade. Percent of people who return back to that region, it's close to zero. Why? Of course, I mentioned our people, Assyrian, Christian, Chaldean, because they don't trust in somehow. And the other thing is that roads are closed by Peshmerga and by KRG with no reason to separate this region, historical region, which was one unit together. Again, we have another things which we have Shabak, people who are in religion, Muslim and Shia. After 2014, they've been, of course, displaced as like Assyrian, Christian, and other Yazidis. They suffer too, but what's happening now, they have more support, and they have militias. They took control of Bartilla. Bartilla is an example of changing demography. We speak about changing demography in Iraq. In general, there's all the time changing demography. But what our people face in Iraq is very difficult. It's not only 2014. It's not only 1921 when Iraq established as country. Every time we face changing demography, but we can focus in the time of, which is the Iraqis government have responsibility. We can speak about this period of time. We have cases since 1933, still it's not solved. So we should never forget our lands and our rights to land of villages from the time of Semele. 1933, we have over 100 villages being taken. Now we have about 65 or 80 or 70 villages still not returned back. Partially all together, they didn't return back to our people. We have from the 1961 and 62, 63, when the Kurd attacking Iraqi's government, the Kurdish revolution, we lost a lot of villages and a lot of lands. And during the regime, Saddam regime, they put a plan to change demography, and they targeting our people. And in Tel Kef, it's an example how they changed the demography of Tel Kef, and it was in the end Tel Kef, only maybe 30% Assyrian Christian. Mostly they've been, the demography was changed to Arabization. And in Bartella, again, we get here because of Bartella. Bartella was an example, like Tel Kev. They bring Shabak to Bartella, and it was start changing demography since Saddam regime time. Unfortunately, this scenario is continuous until this moment, and everyone, unfortunately, try to use their power to occupy and capture more lands which belong to our people. We have, again, the other thing which should never forget, which is Mosul case, Assyrian, Christian heritage and history in Mosul. As Christianity, it's one of the most ancient cities for Christianity. There's a lot of ancient monasteries inside city of Mosul. Some they return back to the 2nd or 3rd century after Jesus. And we have, again, Nineveh historical sites inside Nineveh, inside Mosul city. What's happened now, Mosul, it's empty from their indigenous people. Mosul city, it's an example how the changing demographic working and going on at this moment. In 2003, there was over 60,000 Assyrian, Christian, Chaldean living in Mosul city. At this moment, there is few people return back to Mosul city. In 2014, there was over 2,000 families still live in Mosul. We have a lot of property, a lot of historical sites, churches, monasteries, very ancient. But what's the future? What will happen to those properties and this heritage? Iraqi's government established a community or a committee to take care to return back the right of people who lost their homes or properties. But still, cases were solved by this committee. It's very few, and there's thousands of cases not solved. There's a lot of homes are still occupied by others, and owners cannot trust to return back until this moment. So this is another scenario, this is another thing which is targeting the identity of our people as nation, as different ethnic group and different religion. In media, they said Iraq is Mosul is liberated and you should return back. But there's good example. There's people, Muslims, Arab, they said, you are welcome, return back to your home. Why you didn't return back? But there's another example. I heard from people who try to return back, who trying to go back to home, but their neighbors, they said, why you are returning back? There's no place, no space for you here. So it's your rule here, our people who are living in diaspora, in Europe, in America, to bring attention to those cases, land grabs, changing demography, and changing the identity of our people. Gradually, this is a completely continuous scenario to target and attack our people. We should take care. We should never stop of asking and requesting that we should have our international protection zone. I believe that this is the only solution, because Kurd or Peshmerga, they didn't protect, they didn't protect Yazidis and they didn't protect Assyrian or Christian. They didn't be able to protect them. If they say we try, but I don't think, but they didn't be able to do that. And Iraqi's army, they not be able to do that. And in the future, I believe this will not happen. So we should have, and our local forces take care of this. And we should have the region, our region should be united in Nineveh Plain. And our people should have the right to choose who lead the administration. Unfortunately, those days we heard, and maybe most of you, if you have access to news in Iraq, in local community, in Al-Qosh is an example how they, KDP, trying to change, and already they did change the mayor of Al-Qosh. They bring a person who follow them. And this scenario is what is against the right of our people, the right of indigenous people to have their right to elect the person who represents them. Iraqi's government, it's not better. In Iraqi's government, at this moment, still, our right is not recognized as first-class citizen. We should never forget this. For the identity law, there's a lot of materials against our rights and Yazidis' other rights, including the law of religion. So anyone who converts from Islam, from a certain family, all the children should follow his religion. This is something not fair. But this is inside the Iraqi's identity law. Another thing, Iraqi's parliament, when they choose the committee for election in the last parliament, they decided to increase number of members of this committee to include Assyrian, Christian, Assyrian, and to include Turkoman. But they said, okay, you will have those seats, but you will not have a right to vote. Why? Is this something accepted for the human right? So if Iraqi's parliament thinking in this way, what about the other people? And all of us, we heard what's happened in the last election in Baghdad and what's happening in Erbil at the same moment, at the same time. In Baghdad, they located 5 seats for Chaldean, Assyrian, Syriac, Christian, let's say, and the result was those seats being taken by others, 2 for Shia political parties and 2 for Kurd political parties, and 1 for the Assyrian left only. And everyone see this. It's clear because people who vote for those seats are not from the community, not from our community. And again, this scenario was repeated in Erbil. Even our people request was to do this election. Even I think that it's not enough to have 5 seats. We will have our rights in Iraq or in the region because 5 seats only it's like it's to give a message to other countries that there's a democracy, or your Assyrian are represented in the parliament, in the government. This is not the solution for us. But still, those 5 seats in Baghdad or in Erbil, they've been taken. They've been taken from the parties and political powers who have a rule in the country. So, in middle of all that, I believe that we should not and never lose the hope. We should all the time try to get our rights and fight for our rights in all the ways we have, all the tools we have. Human Rights Council, United Nations, other countries, empowering ourselves, supporting each other. I believe that it's a good example for that is Nineveh Plain Protection Unit. Small force start from nothing, now have a role of giving a hope to our people on the ground. We can do more. We can depend on ourselves, build ourselves, and use our tools. And never forget we have brothers and sisters everywhere, even in Mesopotamia, in Iraq, Syria, Turkey, and Iran. And we should never forget any part of those lands and those rights. We should not only speak and mention Nineveh Plain, because it's not our land is it's only in Nineveh Plain. We have rights and lands everywhere in northern Iraq. Duhok is an example. Erbil is an example, Ankawa, and we have people who living there, still they suffer, still they living in discrimination. Their lands are still until this moment taken without their rights to said we wish to change the authority of this land or not. And we have a lot of examples of that. We have cases recorded, about 58 cases, different places, different villages. And we have a lot of those from those cases that are not recorded. I will give you an example. United Nations UNAMI, a United Nations mission to Iraq, by the request from Human Rights Council last year, they do investigation in Nahla Valley region. They record more than 40 villages in one region. More than 40 villages. In the report being organized or written by UN authorities, showing how much its land grabs take part in one piece of Assyrian lands in Nahla Valley, and showing how much is difficult to our people that they losing their identity by this way. Another important thing we should not forget, it's important to mention, it's that we feel that all the time we pay the tax for the battles and cases for others. Arab fighting Kurd, we give the tax, we pay the tax. Kurd fighting Turk, we pay the tax. And unacceptable way of dealing with our people is what some fighters, Kurd fighters, do in our lands, in northern Iraq, in other places, and it's against the right of our people. They're using our lands, our villages, as a shelter for themselves, and make a reason for Turkish forces to attack and to shoot, use bombs against our villages and our lands, and destroyed our lands and our villages. And this happened not one time, it's happening every day. Last month, I was in Barwari region, in Annune and Dure. Every day there's attack. Why? Because Turkish force decide to attack those regions because they think that PKK fighter is there. This is against us. Who lose? We lose. And our people now, they said, it's unstable region. Nahla region, again, not only land grab is affecting people there. Airstrike from Turkish forces, again, targeting one of the villages and causing, of course, a loss of a lot of materials and farms belong to our people. And this affecting the normally daily life of Assyrian Christian who living in Iraq. Not only in Barwari and Nahla, in Zakho, in other region, everywhere. It's a scenario which taking place all the time. So now I think that the goal of those operations fighting each other is to only occupy our lands and to push our people out from their lands. This is what the result is. And another example of how our people losing their lands. After 1991, there's a lot of lands and regions, villages, Nerwan, Rekan, and other places. Since that time, that period of time, until this moment, civilians from those regions, they don't have a chance to return back to their regions because it's occupied by fighters who said they are fighting for freedom. If you fight for freedom, why you occupy lands belong to others? It's not accepted. At this moment, it's not accepted. If we fight for freedom, we fight for freedom and right for all together, because if we live all in one field. We should all defend this place, and we should unite in fighting. Not I fight and put you in trouble. This is not accepted. So this is our suffer in our country, in our homeland. And I hope that we all, after we know what's happening, we work together to find better solution, to support each other, because it's the only way to keep our people on the ground. Politically, and the request of our people was with the Iraqis government, from the Iraqis government, to have our local administration in level of province in Nineveh Plains, and the autonomy in KRG region. And of course, as my colleague Mr. Imad mentioned, for Yazidis in Sinjar, they should have their own province too, because they suffer all the time and nobody can take care of them if they don't have their own administration. It's a minimum right to our people and to Yazidis to have their own administration in level of province, to make sure that at least they will share same % of budget, which at least complete some of their needs. What we suffer from this point, at this point, is we feel that Nineveh province didn't take care of us all the time, didn't share the budget with us. I think that my time is already finished. I will give you a right to ask, and I am ready to answer any question after that. So I think I mentioned most of things we suffer from in the country, and some of the point of solutions, which is establishing a province in Nineveh Plain, and again, our rights should be recognized in Duhok, Erbil, as indigenous people of this land, and we should have our local forces occupied and supported. If a United States and international community didn't accept to send fighters, at least they can do monitoring, and this is what we told them in Washington, D.C., and I hope they will do this. And the new administration, we are in talking with them and dealing with them. They wish to help and support, as they mentioned, and they already start some process on the ground to deliver support directly to NGOs and organizations from the community. I hope this will take place shortly. Thank you.
ماسة همزمت السبوثة ناشديا تأثراي جو بغداد داخلة تاما لا بس دشتت ننوي وجو قربية عراق بس بغداد داخلة إتناشي جو بصرة من حقيات إت تاما من إتن جو دستور عراقي قا ناشي سوراي جو عراق
جو بغداد هلبت من بار تريل بيطلع وإثوا شتريل بيطلع هلبت جو عراق إثوا بلكي 5 مليون اشتام ألبي 5 مليون وبلقي عطوراي سوراي كل دناي من كلهم طايب الدين هنا بارتريل بيطلع من سبب بلاشة دي لبيشة قوايد أثرة بين سنة وشيعة وكلها أن أمرخ ملت دي لقو أثرة وبريشايت سني لو رازي بيدو شخلاب الدويلة سبق باور كله إيوه بإذاي قمدانا إثوا خكمة radical organization أني مشوري لتارجت وهذا يعني مخايا كراسيانة كأطوراي بريشايت قوم ديت بغداد قوم موصل قوم بصرة قوم ديت بغداد إثوا بنياثة إثوا شوباني ماسخ أمرخ 8 من أمة من ناي إيوا سوراي أخ أمرخ قو دورة أخ أمرخ قو بنيثة شما أمين قو صناعة هاد خشوباني قو بغداد إيوا رابا سوراي خاية تاما نيخة بنيخة بيشلي أن ناشي بلاطة من دنا شوباني من سبب لا إنه شلطانة إثوا لقانون درقل سوراي لا إنه إثوا شد آسي تاما بلاخة إثوا لي خيالة بش زودة من شلطانة اني مخايوه مخروه تلاخوه قومراني ما قوده
ما ستمرت شمانة شو تاسي تخيلي تنتاما مخ شيعة يعني شيعة
سامة زودة من دي ايوا سنة
سنة أوكي.
سامة زودة دي ايوا سنة وايوا جونيبرت سنة بياشان من ديانة إن دوزوث لاوة بالسنة إثو أب شيعة خكمة منا إثو خكمة من شيعة جوي ذا لاوة من دي بريشايث أن قصتت أن ناشد إثو على ستورت شتاثة إثو على أن لكر مهمري شوبس أنا بيشة مخروة بكلها أو لا أمرخ إنه بس آوي وريزن بس إن أفرج واجب أرخت إسلاميوثة بالزودة وأن أي أرخت إسلاميوثة لوا شلطانة واذلة إن إيوا أورجانيزيشن إيوا بارت بلكي مخاك من النايم دو شلطانة إن لا أوفيشالي هل بت خا أورجانيزيشن رابع قورتا بيشتغل ذيتا جو كل دنيا يمري ولا قاعدة أي ثوالا شوفا جو موصل ثوالا شوفا كل دوكا أتخاشوا قد تريال بيو أرباسر شو خلافة دي لبريا بريا لبس هدخة أو غليطة له شو خلافة دي لبريا تريال بيو أرباسر إيوا بنيا الخا كونكريت بيس إثوا ناشي join with قدنا organization ده قاعدة ده Islamic State قمدانا وإيوا بلاخة منا إثوا لي organized دي وشكلي وتاكس من كل بلاخة بالإخوة جو مذيناثة جو موصل كو بروجكت وذتوالي ثو بيرسنت ازيوا قدنا اورجانيزيشن من هادخ يمتريال بور باسر ولا شو خلافه اثوا خ باك جراوند اللي دي رابا خلانتا واوويه لسبب قد رابا من بنونه تدين باشي طريده يعني مرخقه ولا بيش لا هيمانوث they lost the trust to stay in big cities like Baghdad and Mosul.
Is the situation in Baghdad and Basra the same situation?
There's different, of course, but in Basra city, of course, the percent of Christian already it's very short, very small. In Baghdad, still we have people living in everywhere, but we can give an example. There was a place where one church have, like example, 2,000 families, one church. All the churches in that neighbor now, they have 800 families. So if we understand there was about maybe 20,000 families there, now there is 800 families. And those 800 families, they are not the average of 5 persons. They are maybe average of 2 persons. We will understand how much it's the crisis against our people. And the same is in Baghdad. Iraqi's government didn't succeed, didn't be able to return back trust to our people. They didn't be able to protect our people. They said we will protect you. They do not. But in the same time, I will give you an example. KRG do the same. In Zakho, they start protest against our people in 2011. And this protest reached to the Hague and other places. And they starting thousands of people attacking businesses and shops belong to our people. Why? Because they are Christian only. And until now, what KRG did? They bring people to court. They show who are responsible for this. Again, before a few days, we heard in the news, they give an order to hit the person who was responsible to kill the bishop Faraj Rahwa, which was kidnapped and killed in 2008. After 10 years, Iraqi's government trying to show that the court bring this person to death because he killed the bishop. But again, the question is, as you mentioned, who was in behind this person who killed the bishop? It was himself, or there was agendas in behind him? And this is the question that Iraqi's government should answer, give answer to our people, to give our people trust to return back to the society, to everywhere. So this is one of the biggest challenge to Iraqi's government now is how to build a trust in middle of the communities, especially in places where liberated from ISIS, between all the society. Even the Arabs themselves, Sunnis, they don't trust anymore each other. Assyrian, Christian, Yazidis, they suffer. How they will trust their neighbors who participating in killing, kidnapping, taking control of their lands and homes in one day. So it's a big challenge, and that's why our people believe that, and Yazidis believe that the only solution to have their own administration and protection should be given to people from the local community, because we did not trust any other more.
Can you say something about the Assyrian demography in Iraq?
Well, the statistic is not really 100% true, but we have in Assyrian society, we have like displacement people, how many people were displaced in 2014 and how many people we have returned back now. We know that in Baghdad, Karakosh, we have about 32,000 people returned back. We have in Karamles, like example, 500 families returned back. We have in Bartella about 600, 700 families returned back. We have in Bashika people returned back. So altogether, we can say like we have about 60,000 in Nineveh Plain returned back. And we have still people who are staying in Amman, in Jordan, in Turkey, in Syria, maybe in Lebanon. We have exactly. Still, maybe they will return back. I don't know. And we have people who in Ankawa, and we have still camps. People, we have Syrian society still have camps. People from Mosul, they don't trust to return back to Mosul. So still, we have Odrana camp is open, because people don't trust to return back to Mosul. And of course, we have people who are living in Mosul, in Duhok, Erbil, and in Baghdad. So altogether, I think it's about 300 something thousands.
Thank you. Basim Arabi.